hovering close to the edge of fire. Then the blast erupts in a roaring tide, pulling every signal back into the ride. Voltage recoil, tearing through the zone, ripping through the dark like a force cyclone, riding on the shock where the sparks are thrown, lost inside the surge where the charge has grown. Echoes fall thin in a glowing trace, drifting through the static of an empty space. But the current waits in a hidden core, ready to ignite and rise once more. Pressure snaps deep where the pulses crack, baseline growls low, pulling shadows back. Lead drones tunnel in a frozen sweep, dragging every heartbeat from the deep. Hi-hats flicker like a frantic sign, rhythms punch holes through the tide and line. Riser climbs slow in a burning rise, filling every second with electrified skies. Core collapse, tearing down the grid, shaking every wall till the edge skid, riding on the blast like a force unhid, lost inside the push where the sound outbid. Kick hits roaring in a molten blast, patterns break fast like a system cast. Vocal cracks echo in a flaring streak, ripping through the void where the signals peak. Breakdown drifts thin like a hollow wave, silence holding tight as the beat behaves. Then the strike erupts with the blinding flare, pulling every fragment back through the air. Core collapse, tearing down the grid, shaking every wall till the edges skid, riding on the blast like a force unhid, lost inside the push where the sound outbid. Glow falls faint in a dwindling tone, resting in the dust of the broken zone. Yet the core still hums in a hidden trace, waiting for the crash of the next embrace. Currents twist deep in the rising hum, bass lines rumble like a distant drum. Lead synth spirals in a rapid chain, pulling every thought into its domain. Hi-hats flicker like electric code, patterns shifting in a heavy load. The riser stretches tight like a sealed command, moments freeze in place as the pulses expand. Vector surge override, breaking the frame, cutting through distortion like a burning flame. in a fractured sweep, slicing through the static where the signals lead. Breakdown softens like a fading glow. Silence curls around as the patterns slow. Then the lift ignites in a sudden blast, pulling every fragment back in a clash. Vector surge override, breaking the frame, cutting through distortion like a burning flame. Riding on the current of a fierce waveform, lost inside the drive where the circuits form. Static coils deep in the fractured air, bass lines rumble with a coated snare. Lead tones spiral in a tightened spin, pulling every signal to the core within. Hi-hat snap like a sharpened thread, patterns cross paths where the circuits spread. Rise to climb slow in a crawling sweep, dragging every moment from the system's deep. Pulse divergence cutting through the haze, shifting all the waves in electric phase. Riding on the force where the voltage plays, lost inside the noise of the drifting maze. Whoa. Kick drum cracks in a rapid splice, rhythm surge loud like a mirrored slice. Vocal shards drift in a filtered wave, folding into echoes that the shadows crave. Breakdown thins out like a cooling flame, silence holds tight in a suspended frame. Then the lift bursts back in a sudden strike, pulling every fragment into perfect sync. Pulse divergence cutting through the haze, shifting all the waves in electric phase. Riding on the force where the voltage plays, lost inside the noise of the drifting maze. Oh. Lost inside the noise of the drifting maze. Lost inside the noise of the drifting maze. Oh. Waveforms bend in a flickered glow, fading slow into the undertow. But the pulse remains in a hidden line, waiting for the next loop to realign. fracture cutting through the frame, splitting all the noise like a wild flame, riding on the break of a warped domain, lost inside the drift where the waves unchain. Kick drum bursts in a jagged slam, rhythm shatters sharp like a metal can, vocal shards shimmer in a drifting haze, falling into patterns where the circuits blaze. Breakdown sing slow like a drain machine, silence trembling thin in a ghost-like sheen. Then the burst ignites with a sharp recoil, dragging every signal back from the boil. Signal fracture cutting through the frame, splitting all the noise like a wild flame, riding on the break of a warped domain, lost inside the drift where the waves unchain. Frequencies fade in a trailing spark, falling like dust through the hollow dark. But the signal hides in a silent seam, waiting for the surge to reawaken. Cling, 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 cling. Oh. Echoes swarm tight in a mirrored spin, low end pressure dragging from within. Leads carve patterns in a looping glide, pulling all the motion to the deeper side. Hi-hat ticks slide like a splitting chain, rhythms cut sharp through the metal strain. RZA pulls taut in a rising hold, holding every breath in a grip ice cold. Pulse divergence tearing at the core, breaking through the static with a violent roar, racing on the line where the shadows pour, lost inside the drift, wanting something more. Snaps hard like a loaded strike, drums fold quick in a shifting spike, vocal grains scatter in a filtered sweep, tracing broken echoes where the signals leap. Breakdown dims, soft like a fading glow, silence wraps tight as the pattern slow. Then the launch erupts with a sudden blast, dragging every moment back lightning fast. Pulse divergence tearing at the core, breaking through the static with a violent roar, racing on the line where the shadows pour, lost inside the drift, wanting something more. Slow in a thinning stream, drifting like ghosts from a shattered dream. But the pulse remains in a quiet trace, ready to break free in another chase. stride. Drums collide fast like a crashing tide. Vocal shards drift in a process sweep, ripping through the void where the shadows creep. Down hums soft like a dying beam. Silence folds thin like an empty dream. Then the burst hits hard with a laser strike, dragging all the chaos back into the spike. Neon fall line breaking from below, shattering the pulse in a sudden glow. Riding on the clash as the patterns throw, lost inside the quake where the systems flow. Neon fall line breaking from below, shattering the pulse in a sudden glow. Riding on the clash as the patterns throw, lost inside the quake where the systems flow. Fragments fade slow in a dwindling spark, trailing thin lines through the hollow dark. But the neon waits in a buried seam, ready to fracture through the next regime. Oh. Sharp in the rising beat, bass kicks heavy in a looping heat. Lit notes streaking a metallic glide, pulling all the tension to the system side.
Hi-hats scatter like a silver rain, rhythms twist tight in a moving chain. Rhythm breathes slow in a stretched incline, ramping up the pressure in a narrow line.
Voltage stride tearing through the night, flashing every frame in a driven light. Riding on the spark of a coded flight, locked inside the surge where the waves ignite. Locked inside the surge where the waves ignite.
Kick drum storms in a hammering run, patterns collide as the sequence is stunned. Vocal cuts flare in a distant sweep, floating through the static where the layers leap.
Breakdown folds thin in a softened drift, silence shifts slow like a fading lift. Then the build strikes hard in a rising blaze, pulling every cycle back into the phase. Voltage stride tearing through the night, flashing every frame in a driven light. Riding on the spark of a coded flight, locked inside the surge where the waves ignite. Locked inside the surge where the waves ignite.
Signals scatter in a broken trail, fading past the noise like a thinning veil. Yet the charge remains in a dormant glow, waiting for the next strike to overflow.